Scott, the Pirate men have played in a couple of tournaments since we last spoke. First, you went down to California and you played in a Division II tournament. And then you played this last Monday and Tuesday down in Clarkston in a tournament hosted by an NAI school, and saw a mixture of NAI and Division II teams.
Right.
What did the Pirates gain by participating in these two events?
Sure. I mean, it's always good to step up the competition in terms of levels, and even if the teams are in a similar competitive level to the Division III schools, there's just a heightened level of excitement when you're playing up a division, so to speak, or against scholarship athletes. We went into both events thinking we had a chance to win, which, we try not to go into competitions thinking that you can't, but there's also a little falseness at times where it's kind of coach speak, where you say, we're going to try to win every event we play, but ultimately, you're trying to do the best you can. And in golf, you're competing against the conditions, you're competing against the course, you're competing against your own little demons of shooting rounds or overcoming new hurdles in terms of a low score. Ultimately you're playing against the competition. So the idea behind those two events is to step up the competition. Also, it just works with our scheduling, with just limited tournaments to play in. So what we were trying to gain is just creating more of a national level event, because I still feel like we have a team that could compete for a national championship this spring, in an effort to expose our guys to that level of competition and that level of feeling around an event. That was the idea behind it.
Weather impacted one round in both tournaments.
Right.
As a coach, how do you help the guys learn from that rather than let it get in their head?
Sure, that's a great question. Before the round and preparation for the round, leading up to it, the possibility of weather, we talk about using that as a competitive edge. It's going to affect everybody, and it's going to be miserable for everyone. How can we take that framework and then play our best within that? So now the expectation of possibly shooting under par goes out the window, and now it's, how can I grind out every shot? And let's let the other teams complain and feel cold and wish that the event would be canceled because it's so cold and windy or rainy, and use that to our advantage. Similar to a football team, let's shorten up the field and run the ball up the middle if we have, big horses up front and a powerful running back, compared to a team that's spreading it all over the field. And we try to embrace that on the golf course. And then from a coaching perspective, once the round's over, you have to give the guys some credit, regardless of how they played or not, is, man, you battled those elements. And today maybe we didn't come out on the right side of that, but we'll use it for the next time. And golf's one of those sports, you can only wear so many clothes and still freely swing. And if you can't feel your hands when it's a very technical game, I mean, the difference between hitting an unbelievable shot and a shot that would show up on a meme on Instagram is your club face being open 2 degrees. And when you don't have that movement and that feeling in your hands, I mean, it's tough. In both, and as you alluded to, in both of the tournaments, there was at least one round, if not a round and a half, between the 2 days of each event, where if you were paying to play, you'd be going to the pro shop and saying, "Can I please get a rain check?" I mean, it was that cold and windy. But ultimately, we embrace that challenge, and it's something that we use, to kind of toughen us up as the season goes on.
This week you have a one-day event, a duel against Whitman.
Yep.
Talk about what that's going to be like.
Sure. And, the idea behind it is just to stay sharp in competition. It's one more round that counts towards something, one more round, since the guys have had such few competitions going all the way back to October 2019 before we, lace things up again this spring. It's just another event to play for. It gives us purpose for practice in the rest of this week. It's something to use to build off of for the next week, which is the first of 3 conference events over a 4-week stretch, which is unprecedented to have that much conference important action packed into one small amount of time. And all of it is just building up to being at our best at that point. So this dual match will have a lot more of a lightened sense. But ultimately, the guys are fighting for spots in the lineup, and if it's more than anything, it's a glorified qualifying round for our own roster. And the guys are brothers, and they support each other, and ultimately, they want to be in that top 5 to go, help be a part of what would hopefully be a conference championship for Whitworth. So, and we're playing at a course that we normally never play, so it's kind of a halfway point between us and Whitman, meeting at Moses Point. It's a link-style course that has definitely some air coming off of the lake there in Moses Lake, and it's some exposed holes kind of on some knobs, so it's a very good chance it's going to be windy again, hopefully a little bit warmer. And I'm really excited to use these previous 2 tournaments, to put into this one, and then ultimately be prepared, for the following week when we play what would normally be the Fall Classic, hosted by Lewis and Clark in Lake Oswego, which will be a completely different style course than we've played so far. So.